Hello, everyone. I'm Donna Fiducia.
And I'm Don Neuen. And this is Cowboy Logic Radio.
Cowboys didn't dance, didn't wear designer shirts. When their hearts were filled with memories, their bodies filled with hurt. They would sit around the campfire and exchange a piercing glares. Back when the West was really wild, cowboys didn't dance.
And welcome to Cowboy Logic Radio, everyone. I'm Donna Fiducia.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Don Neuen. And let me be the first to welcome you to tonight's riveting, absolutely riveting episode of Cowboy Logic Radio. Boy, have we got a big show for you, ladies and gentlemen. Back to you, Donna.
This, ladies and gentlemen, is it. This is it.
What's it?
This is the smoking gun.
What smoking gun?
Well, maybe bad choice of words. There is nothing else we need anymore. Robert Mueller's going to get to the bottom of this, folks. Have no fear.
What are you talking about?
21 million people watch this stupid interview with
Dancing
Stormy
with Stars.
Daniels.
Oh, Stormy Daniels? Oh, my
Yes,
gosh.
Dancing with the Stars. Given, of course, by Mr. Gloria Vanderbilt, a.k.a. Anderson Cooper.
Hey, you know what, though? We did watch it. We did.
Yeah, you know, it's kind of like watching a train wreck. You have to watch it.
We watch things that we don't want to watch.
So other people don't have to, but
Exactly.
Unfortunately, 21 million also watch. So, you know, actually, Tucker Carlson showed on his show yesterday a picture of Anderson Cooper posing with Stormy and her lawyer. And boy, they look chummy. They're all happy. Isn't this great?
Well,
We're finally going to get Donald Trump.
Oh, yeah, they're going to get him. Hey, this was my observation, Donna. Now,
Okay.
you and I watched this. We were up in the living room, and we sat down. We scheduled this into our night, and we watched this. And I got to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, this is what I noticed. Mm-hmm. They were massive. I mean, they were huge.
Stop, honey. I don't know if you should say that on the air.
Of course I can. They were perfectly round.
Well, I don't think you need to go there. I really
They
don't.
were perfectly symmetrical.
Honey, this is a family show.
They were almost three-dimensional.
You really better watch yourself here, please.
I don't think, Donna, I don't think I've ever seen anyone with them quite that large.
Oh, you really, really should not be going there. You should not be going there, honey.
You know what? Compared to Anderson Cooper's,
Yeah.
they were large on an epic scale.
Well, that sort of does make sense.
They were globally large.
Honey, please stop. This is a family show.
Donna, I'm talking about her pupils.
Oh.
Now, see, just like the left-wing media, just like these liberal pukes, you thought I was talking about some part of this porn star's anatomy.
It was very titillating.
Yeah, it was. Hey, that's pretty good, Donna. Hey, Donna, how you doing?
I'm doing okay. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
Good? Hey, you know, Bob Mueller, you know that
Hey,
guy?
but
He's going to be
let's
looking
go back
into
to,
this stuff.
hold on a second. Bob Mueller needs to look into the pupils.
Yeah, he does. Among other
Because-
things. I'm sure he is.
Listen, ladies and gentlemen, when we watched this riveting interview that took place Sunday night, about 3 seconds into it, I turned to Donna and I said, Donna, check out her pupils. Something's really wrong here. Now, you have sat in front for years of the type of lighting that's needed for television broadcast.
Bright
correct?
lights.
Okay, they are bright, correct?
Which means your pupils dilate. I mean,
No, they contract. They get teeny,
Right.
like Anderson Cooper's pupils were.
Yeah, normal.
They were very small.
Anderson obviously was not stoned.
Well, and her lawyer still had lights on him when they were doing the interview. You could tell his face was shining. And his little pupils were teeny little pupils.
It's
Teeny
speculation,
little
of course.
Looked like little black
Yeah,
dots.
okay.
Little dots. Stormy, massive. They were huge. They almost looked three-dimensional.
They
They look like a couple of black holes. You know what they
Did
look
they look
like?
fake?
No. They actually did look fake. Very good, Donna. You know what they look like? They look like her eyes look like North Korea at night from space.
Dark. There is no
black
light.
holes.
Black holes.
I'm thinking that those eyes, those pupils could suck anything into them, any type of matter. They're black holes, like out in space.
Here's the problem.
She looked demonic.
Yeah, she did. But the thing is,
she looked like a cocaine head.
She
looked like Tony Montana might be able to talk to her and sell her some coca.
Say hello to my little friend.
That's right. Say hello to my two little black orbs.
Say hello to my two really big friends.
Yeah, her pupils.
Oh, okay.
I couldn't get past the pupils. I kept hearing how big her
You are not a
chest
typical
was.
male then. Because, I got to admit, there's a little rivalry there. Women look at other women, too, to see what's going on. And I want to make sure whether it's real or fake. And it's pretty darn fake in that one.
Well, the pupils, I agree. Those were enhanced with
other
some
things
type
were
of a drug.
extremely fake. But the thing is...
What are you talking about?
Yeah, I don't know. What am I talking about? The thing is... you can just
Do you think
almost
Don
hear...
Imus noticed the pupils?
Yeah, he could see that, as blind as he is. Do you realize that the whole thing is the mainstream media, #fake news, is just waiting with bated breath on every little thing that she says, and totally, for decades, ignored a serial rapist and sexual predator, better known as the former president of the United States, Bill Clinton. And that is what really
or
is
some of the
unbelievable.
Kennedys.
Well, the Kennedys, too, exactly. If you have a D behind your name, you're safe. There you go. And it's really
all right, so there you go, ladies and
ridiculous.
gentlemen.
It's
just for the record, you heard it on Cowboy Logic Radio. As long as you have a D behind the eyes, you may have enormous pupils and get away with it.
Among other things. But we have had, we've spoken to Juanita Broderick. We know Kathleen Willey very well. Leslie Milwee has now come on our show, and she was sexually really harassed in a disgusting fashion when she was not even 20 years old by Bill Clinton, when she was in her first job as a reporter in Little Rock, Arkansas.
Yeah,
this guy is a pig.
That was a disgusting story,
sorry.
and I applaud her bravery for being able to even share that story.
She was so
but
scared.
I was appalled by it.
She was so scared to come out for decades. And folks, it's just, you can't even say on the air what happened there.
Well, she did.
Well, yeah.
And we won't because we talk about pupils and things like that. But the thing is, go back to the Cowboy Logic archives, ladies and gentlemen. Go to cowboylogic.us. Click on the link in the menu that says archives. Scroll down until you see the name Leslie Milwee, and then you can listen to that interview. And she describes in no uncertain terms exactly what Bill Clinton did to her multiple times. It's sickening. And
to be only 19 years old at the time is disgusting. And then just again, yesterday on Sean Hannity's show, you had Juanita Broderick saying again, and that's the name of her book, you better put some ice on it. And that's what he did. He bit her in the lip so she couldn't yell, and he raped her. This is Bill Clinton. We're not talking about Donald Trump here, folks. We're talking about Bill Clinton. And he was elected not once, but twice. And all you have is the media at the time going, there's nothing to see here, just keep going. These aren't the droids you're looking for. I mean, it's pathetic. The double standard, #double standard is pathetic. And now what's going on?
Well, hold on a second. Let's address one other thing, and that is that the mainstream media is referring to this woman like it's some kind of a prestigious position, no pun intended, that she held as a job, and that is an adult film star.
Right.
Let's translate that. She's a porn star. She was probably a stripper to start off with.
Aging porn star.
And she's a porn star. She's what all of us pray to God that our children do not grow up to be. And this is what the left-wing media puts all their credibility in. They're loading their gun with this big, massive interview. Now, if Donald Trump, in fact, did have a fling with this porn star right after Barron was born, then as far as a husband, he sucks. Mm-hmm. Okay? And we can all agree to that.
He's been married, 3-4 times?
Yeah, clearly the guy hadn't figured out how to get that right. But the bottom line is we didn't elect him to be our husband. We didn't elect him to be a husband role model. If that would have been the case, half the people that have been president probably would have not been elected.
Personally, I think he needs his eyes examined, though, because look at Melania. I'm sorry, she's stunning.
Well, I got to tell you, while we're talking about aesthetics here, and this woman's clearly in the public eye now, so we can say whatever we want to.
Literally.
Yeah. What's up with the massive forehead?
I don't know.
It looked like a big dome.
The thing is, it's consensual. It was not rape. It was not multiple rapes. Like
3 times, she signed a document that said nothing even happened.
Right.
And how about the guy that came up to her in the parking lot?
Yeah.
Threatened her and, made a threat toward her child. But instead of going to the police department, what does she do, Donna? She goes and works out. That's what she did.
It must have been
now,
really
I can tell you this.
traumatic.
If you're in the parking lot, say someplace out here in Carroll County, and somebody comes up to you and makes a threat against you, hey, back away from so-and-so, or we're going to, you're not going to want to see what happens.
I pull out my 38.
Well, that's what you would do, okay? And you would blow probably some testicles right off.
Yes.
But here's the deal. She doesn't do that. She doesn't call the sheriff's department. She doesn't call the 911 or the police department. She continues on in and works out.
Mm-hmm. So she was really upset. Hey, Mark Stein had a great line.
Her pupils were probably massive at that point because of the adrenaline.
Mark Stein had a great line. Trump paid, and I'm really not a huge fan of his, but every once in a while he comes out with a good one. Trump paid off a porn star for $130,000. That's the art of the deal.
The thing is, Trump didn't pay her off.
Well, that's what they say. But
the thing is, Cohen was used numerous times when Trump would get into bad situations. Hey, fix the problem. Right?
That's what he is.
Deal
He's
with
a
the
fixer-upper.
Yeah.
Just like Chip and JoJo.
Again, we didn't elect some perfect husband. And quite frankly, if you go through all of the different congressmen, senators, House of Representatives,
there is a fund. A slush fund to pay off these people to shut up.
Yeah.
That taxpayers are paying. Donald Trump isn't even taking a salary, folks. Did you know that? He's still not taking a salary. He's donating his salary every month.
Well, he's paying off
charity.
this kind of stuff with his lawyer's money.
And his
That's the art of the deal.
Really. Okay, but the big thing is, and here's the entrapment we can get now.
Oh, yeah, the entrapment.
Bob Mueller's going to have to look into this now because it could be an illegal campaign donation.
Well, then Cohen's screwed, so big deal.
Dinesh D'Souza would be proud because that was $130,000 as opposed to only $10,000 that he went to jail for under questionable circumstances.
I'm still waiting on Trump to pardon Dinesh D'Souza.
He does need to be pardoned.
I mean, what a slap in Obama's face that would be.
I know, but here's the thing. Here's what Mueller doesn't look at. Nothing on Hillary Clinton.
Nope.
Nothing on her emails.
Nope.
Nothing on uranium.
Nada.
Yeah, it's okay. We give 20% of our uranium to the Russians, of
Nada.
which Bob Mueller
Nothing.
delivered some of the samples.
Delivered nothing.
Nothing on the emails.
Bigly.
Nothing on the DNC hacking.
Bigly.
Nothing on the Clinton Foundation. Again, pay
Terrible.
no attention to the man behind the curtain.
The curtain.
These aren't the droids you're looking for. This
Behind
is a
the curtain.
joke. An
Yes, it's a
absolute joke. It is.
Hey, you got that out pretty well with me annoying you the whole
Yes,
time.
because I've learned how to ignore you.
That's because I'm Don Neuen, ladies and gentlemen. You're not. Back to you, Donna.
With this Mueller investigation, too, John Brennan, the Muslim former CIA director, you know where his real allegiance lies. I'm sorry, it's certainly not in America. He attacks on MSNBC, of course, a sitting president. He said, quote, he speculates that Russia might have intelligence on Trump. He was the CIA director. He knows what is going on. After all these years, he speculates it like he didn't know? Come on, this is so stupid. All right.
He's a communist.
Well,
Let's move past him.
Yep. So remember how when the market was at a record high?
Hey, wait a minute. Before you get into that, you know what?
What?
What song was I singing?
I don't remember.
Stormy River.
No, that was Stormy Weather. Stormy Weather.
Yeah, I was singing that.
Were you really?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. My kids hate that because normally if I start singing songs about everything.
Sing a little bit of. Hey, for Stormy Daniels, sing a little Stormy Weather.
Stormy weather.
Yeah, baby.
Sorry.
No, keep going.
I forgot the tune. I don't know the rest of the words.
Sing it again.
Stormy weather.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to welcome you to the Ramada Inn at I-20 and Highway 92 in Douglasville, Georgia. Have we got anybody from out of town here tonight? Let's see. No? All right. Back to you, Jimmy Jazz, and the mellow sounds of your flugelhorn.
My kids, your kids now, too. Donna, is there anything there's not a song about?
Nope.
You sing songs all the time.
Nope.
My kids just
sing
say,
a song about
quiet?
pupils.
Pupils?
Pupils.
Oh, I don't know. I thought you said people.
No, yeah, sing it.
People who need people.
Sing that.
That's my Barbara Streisand.
All right, sing that, but sing it as pupils.
Streisand. Pupils. Pupils who need pupils are the luckiest.
Oh, yeah, we could have done without. We should have stopped earlier.
In the world.
Very nice, Donna. All right, now I'll bring her mic down here shortly, ladies and gentlemen.
Person.
There we go. All right. See that.
Person.
Okay, you guys want to hear. All the mail indicates that. The emails that we get at cowboylogicradio@gmail.com indicate that you, Donna Fiducia, are the favorite of the two of us.
I don't think so.
I read the emails.
All right, yeah, and you don't show them to me because I'll
Painfully.
get a swelled head, right?
Yep.
Okay, so remember, as I was saying, as I do try to watch the market every day, the market hit record highs a few months back. The media's going, well, you know, it's going to tank. It's going to tank. It's going to tank. And it kept going up and up and up and up all last year. Now it gets to the top around the first of the year, right? And what happens is, well, it's really not doing that well under Trump. This is only because of Barack Obama and all his policies. That's why it's doing so well. This is left over from Barack Obama. Well, then it tanks. It tanks.
That's all Donald Trump's fault.
And if you follow these things again, there was a good thing, a correction. It's a good thing that it's a correction, but now it's Trump's fault. And it looks like China's actually going to talk to us. So now, boom, goes right back up. Erased all of last Friday's tanking and is starting to head back up in the early part of the week. So now I guess it's not the Trump bump anymore. It's just
It's all
the
Obama.
market just happens.
It's Barack Hussein Obama.
And Facebook's huge losses from last week also bottomed out. We had a pop to start the week again.
How much did he end up losing on the week?
He lost like $60 billion.
Chump change.
It's good. He's no longer one of the richest or up there on the top 10. He's come down a few pegs.
Hey, listen, we have what's the schmuck's name at Facebook? Mark
Zuckerberg.
Zuckerberg. Ladies and gentlemen, we have him coming up in the second segment, and I think, given
we'll get
what's
to the
been
Facebook stuff.
Yeah, well, no, we've got the interview with Mark Zuckerberg coming up in the second segment, and I quite frankly, I don't feel like interviewing this guy. I'm not his friend on Facebook. When he asked me to be his friend, I said no. I declined.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that. Mark Zuckerberg wants to be your friend.
And we said
Will
no.
you accept it?
No, we said no, Mark. No, we won't be your friend on Facebook. So there. So here's what I think we ought to do. Let's bump Mark's interview seconds.
Yeah.
Let's not call him.
Yeah, you know what?
Let's make him sit there and wait for the call and not call him.
The heck with him. Who wants to talk to him?
That's right. That's how we treat people like you, Mark.
Meanwhile, Trump is trying to run the country. 60 Russians have been expelled, and they shut the Seattle consulate because it's near an army base or something.
What's that, Donna?
I have no idea.
That was expelling a Russian.
Oh, stop. Oh, that's so bad. So Russia's
I got
probably
to
going
expel
to
60 more of them, too. 59 more.
Here's the bottom line. You heard all this
There
stuff
you go.
about,
There's another
you
Rusty.
stop. You have 58 more to go. Russia, China, North Korea, Iran, even
Ew, that was
Iran,
two of
rather.
them.
Iran, I said Iran, even Venezuela. All this stuff. Oh, Trump's going to start World War III. You know what's happening?
No.
Well, this kind of brings Russia down a peg just a bit. China
What was that, Donna?
and North Korea.
What was that, Donna?
Expelled Russian. God, you're so sick.
Yeah, but the listeners love me.
Well, then, but see,
Just ask my two fans,
But you know what was
Paige and Kelly Runnels. My only fans.
You just lost them too. Yeah. You know, it's really actually. Their
Steve
kids
Braddock
probably
is a fan
love you.
of mine.
I think Paige and Kelly's kids probably love you because of the bathroom.
Funny. No. I don't act like that around them.
Yeah, but if they listen, they'll hear it.
I think the important people, though, do love me.
Yeah.
Yeah, Steve Braddock, Scott James, Ron.
Yeah, that's it, huh? That's it?
Yeah.
I'm waiting for the list. I love you.
That's three of them.
I love you.
Well, okay, Donna. My kids, when I'm not embarrassing them.
They only love you when you give them money. That's kids.
Hey, L. Ron Phillips hit me today. Wanted to chat.
Did he? Okay. Yeah. Okay.
I was busy.
All right.
I was busy. I said, hey, Ron, got to get back with you.
The thing is, with this whole market thing, will you stop with this whole market thing?
What was that, Donna?
It's Russian, I guess.
Expelling a Russian.
Expelling a Russian.
Hey, we're coming up on a break. I may have to go to the bathroom and expel a few Ruskies.
You know what happened, though? China's now sort of saying, well, maybe we should talk. It's kind of interesting.
Ooh.
It's kind of interesting. So the
we
market
could talk about
pops back up.
cataracts.
And Kim Jong-un is making a surprise visit to China. His first trip outside his poor, isolated country since he took power in 2011. Why do you think that's happening? You think that would happen under Barack Obama? Do you think?
No.
Huh? Of course not. You know...
What was that, Donna?
An expelled Russian.
Very good.
Wouldn't you like to be a fly on the wall, though, with this meeting between Kim Jong-un and Chinese
Wouldn't
officials?
you like to be a fly on the wall in the Cowboy Logic radio studios? So you can watch this stuff. See, we don't do what some of these other radio shows do and put up their little cameras. Why? Because radio is the...
theater of the mind.
That's right. Why ruin it with a camera?
Yeah, especially you can see
Don Imus.
your face while you pucker that up.
What? Two of them right there. What were they, Donna?
Did you see all the Russians being expelled? Expelled Russians.
That's right.
Did you see all the garbage at the Democrat-funded anti-gun, anti-NRA protests that were left there?
With Soy Boy?
Actual garbage.
Nazi Soy Boy?
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Yeah,
after
let's
the
talk
break
about that
as
when
well.
we get back on
and
the...
we'll get to Facebook.
On the flip side of the break.
The hypocrisy. It's coming up. We'll have more Cowboy Logic. We're going to do more headlines because we're going to blow off Mark Zuckerberg.
What else are we going to do, Donna?
Yeah, I'm not even going to talk. Goodbye. We'll see you in a minute. You're so sick.
Cowboys didn't dance, didn't wear designer shirts. Their hearts were filled with memories, their bodies filled with hurt. They would sit around the campfire and exchange a piercing glance. Back when the West was really wild, cowboys didn't dance. Yes, when cowboys didn't dance, didn't wear designer shirts. When their hearts were filled with memories, their bodies filled with hurt. They would sit around the campfire and exchange a piercing glance. Yes, back when the West was really wild, cowboys didn't dance.
Check us out on the web at cowboylogic.us.
I want to thank the Lord for our Constitution. I also want to thank the NRA for its legacy. The National Rifle Association was founded by religious leaders who wanted to protect free slaves from the Ku Klux Klan. They would raise money, buy arms, show the free slaves how to use those arms, and protect their families. God bless you. Many of us probably wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for the NRA.
Let me just briefly say that gun control, for black Americans, we know that gun control has ultimately been about people control. It sprouts from racist soil, be it after or during the infamous Dred Scott case, where black man's humanity was not recognized. And the beauty about some races is that sometimes they're blatantly honest. And the racist Chief Justice, Taney, said, we cannot allow the law to recognize the humanity of this individual because he would be able to keep and bear arms. When a lot of Democratic-controlled segregationist governments after the Civil War attempted to deny black men and women their freedom, they instituted black codes, largely to deny the Second Amendment from newly freed slaves.
Right after the Emancipation Proclamation, what was going on down in the southern states, it's very clear that the Dixiecrats wanted to disarm black people to keep us from defending ourselves against the Klansmen who were murdering white and black Republicans to control the ballot box. So I think history is ripe with examples of there's a correlation, direct correlation between gun control and black people control.
This current administration is far from the truth. This agenda is becoming more and more obvious to all, that it's a distraction. It's a reason, it's an excuse to carry out an ideology that is more evident every day and every week that goes by, that it is anti-American. And when you touch the Second Amendment, you can't become more anti-American, because America would not be without her guns, and guns would not be necessary without her God. We call upon Americans, both black, white, Hispanics, Republicans, Democrats, Independents, and even those who are not of our faith to agree upon this. Without God, without guns, and without the Constitution, America's end will come with haste. For when they change our Constitution, they will take our guns. And when they take our guns, they will also seek to take our God. That's when Americans will fight back.
You're listening to your local news source, WLBB, News Talk 1330 and FM 106.3.
Hey everybody, they're back on again!
Cowboys didn't dance, didn't wear designer shirts, when their hearts were filled with memories, their bodies filled with hurt. They would sit around the campfire and exchange a piercing glare. Back when the West was really wild, cowboys didn't dance.
We're back on Cowboy Logic Radio.
No, I'm back, ladies and gentlemen.
And who are you?
My name's Don Neuen. Let me be the first to welcome you back to this absolutely riveting episode of Cowboy Logic Radio. Back to you, Donna. What was that?
I thought you were going to expel all those Russians during the break and be done.
I expelled 19 of them during the break.
Oh, we have a number to go then.
But what was
it?
it?
Get up to 60.
What is that right there?
You're expelling Russians.
For those of you, ladies and gentlemen, that are just joining this absolutely riveting episode of Cowboy Logic Radio, brought to you by Talk America Radio, found at talkamericaradio.us, and our fantastic affiliates. Let me name them: WDDQ Talk 92.1 FM, serving South Georgia; WJHC Talk 107.5 FM, serving North Florida. Scott James and Jack Ring, thanks, and I hope you'll keep us on the air after I do this next segment. And we've also got our buddies right here out in West Georgia, WLBB News Talk 1330 AM and 106.3 FM. For those of you that are in West Georgia and East Alabama, if you have not turned your FM dial to 106.3 FM and found out the new powerhouse WLBB FM station, you are losing out big time.
Bigly.
Bigly. I'm talking very bigly.
Very bigly.
Now, for those of you that are just jumping in with us right now, we have been expelling Russians
just like the Trump
for the past 30 minutes
is doing now.
And the cue sound every time we expel a Russian is or
why is it that
was
sound
3
always
Russians.
makes people laugh?
I don't know. I'm not laughing.
It's so juvenile.
I'm expelling Russians.
You're so juvenile.
No,
you know
I am not.
Yes,
Stop
are.
it, Donna.
Okay. You know, I've said this many times. I want to talk about the hypocrisy with this stupid anti-gun protest that was going on. All right? And I do not think kids should not be allowed to express how they feel, even though they are being pawns of their teachers and are being totally propagandized, but that's another story.
May I say something before you get into this, Donna, about these little liberal pukes that showed up in Washington and all the other states?
Well, you said that. I kind of tried to be nice about it.
Well, I don't care about being nice. Here's the thing. These pukes do not understand that without the Second Amendment, they don't have the First Amendment to go act the way they acted, to crap on their parents the way they crapped on their parents, to be disrespectful the way this little bald-headed girl.
Oh, the girl, yeah.
That wore the Cuban flag.
Yeah.
She doesn't have a clue. I'd like to call on my friends down in South Florida, my Cuban friends that their parents had to deal with this. They had to deal with it as children, getting away from Cuba, getting away from Castro.
Does she know that Castro's communist?
She doesn't know
anything.
anything.
Please go live there. Go to
she
Venezuela.
Doesn't know anything.
Go to Venezuela right now where they're rationing food and energy and freeze your ass off.
She can go down there with the Peace Corps.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. But here's the thing. This whole hypocrisy, first of all, and you had to know this was going to happen, they showed pictures of all the garbage the protesters left in all the various cities. I thought these people loved the environment.
When is the last time you've ever seen a liberal gathering that was not a complete dump?
And it's funny you should mention that, because I worked in New York City when they used to have a lot of these big concerts in Central Park. A lot of times you would have, it was Garth Brooks who was there. 300,000 people showed up. I'm dating myself. Nothing.
Garth Brooks. This is Kim Jong-un, the first time he met Garth Brooks. Here we go. You ready? You ready, Donna? Oh, you Garth Brooks, you honky-tonk cowboy. You play Garth Brooks tunes? You play any Delberry McCrinton? You play any Randy Lavis?
That's an inside joke, folks. One of these days we'll explain it to you.
No, we won't.
Yes,
Keep
we
them
will.
on the edge,
That's
Donna.
pretty damn funny,
Keep them
though.
on the edge.
Anyhow, Garth Brooks plays Central Park. 300,000 people show up.
Honky-tonk cowboy.
You leave Central Park, and it is spotless.
You get in your
was great.
cataract and he drive away.
And he played at the height of his career when his big album was out. It was awesome, okay? Then I think a few months later, Diana Ross from the Supremes.
Oh, you are so racist to bring up a black artist.
I'm sorry, but
Casey and the Sunshine Band was there.
She's wonderful.
Billy Joel was there.
Maybe. They all are pigs. I'm sorry. And I was there at the Elton John Central Park concert,
Diana
too.
Ross and Billy Joel are not pigs.
No.
Casey and the Sunshine Band.
The people who go to see them are much more liberal attended,
attendees.
Attendees, okay. And the park was a mess. And I'm not even sure if they have that many concerts up there anymore just for that reason. So talk about hypocrisy.
Cowboy music?
Will you explain this?
No, I want to keep them on the edge.
I think now you have to.
No, I don't.
You have to.
No, I
now.
don't. No,
well, all I can say, folks, is Don used to play in a Garth Brooks cover band, and it was pretty damn good. In fact, Garth Brooks knew about this band because it was so good.
Oh, yeah.
And he played at a Sony
No,
concert.
You're getting it
Wasn't
wrong.
Sony?
Aflac.
But it was the Japanese officers of Aflac that were there?
Nope.
Well, it wasn't.
It was all of the Asian Aflac representatives.
Okay.
All 5,000 of them or 3,000 of them.
So you're
whatever
playing
it was.
bass with your cowboy hat, and you've got a guy who thinks he's Garth Brooks and looks exactly like Garth Brooks.
We were absolutely charging through the nose.
Because Garth Brooks was huge at
because
the time.
it was, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, and
it was the
a
best
damn
Garth
good band.
Brooks tribute show.
In fact, Garth Brooks knew who you were.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's called me up.
Okay, so then
He done.
some of the attendees come up to you and
before
that's
the
where
show
this all came.
So we're doing this sound check, and all of a sudden they start milling in. And
very respectful.
It was a great show. It was a great time. It was a good time for all. Mm-hmm. And so anyway, this guy comes up, very polite, as they all were, and he simply says, "Oh, you honky-tonk cowboy?" And I went, I guess. Are you? He goes, "You play Garth Brooks, Crint Brack,
You're so bad.
Gilbert McCrinton? And I was like, yeah, we do that. We'll do all that for you. We're going to have a throwdown good old time. Well, here's what was amazing about this, ladies and gentlemen. We got 18 minutes. I can relax and tell you the full story.
Here.
All right, so here's what was amazing about this Asian performance that we had. The first thing is that when they danced, and they were very interactive. They had a great time. They danced a whole lot to all the music we played. They all faced us. They didn't face their dance partner.
They're being respectful.
Yeah. The other thing, and this was respectful too, but by the end of it, my pupils looked like Stormy Daniels because
no,
they
the
lined up.
Of Stormy Daniels.
They lined up on stage left, which if you're looking at the audience is to your left, by the way. They lined up and they came up on stage while we were playing and stood next to all of us and took pictures. So then you've got all these flashes going off in front of you.
This is when flash pictures were huge.
Yeah, this was in the 90s.
Before cell phones.
Yeah. But they'd stand there and take a picture with us, and then they'd move to the next person on stage, take a picture. And this line, I mean, it looked like people were in line waiting for Obama phones. Okay? It was a lot of fun, but it was a little strange. And I'm telling you, my pupils looked like Stormy Daniels after that.
You were blinded by the light.
I was blinded. Sing it, Donna.
Oh, no.
Come on.
Blinded by the light.
Good. What did they wrapped up like?
I
Deuce,
always,
right?
I thought it sounded like
it's not. Don't say that on the air.
A feminine hygiene product.
Deuce.
Well, that's what we used to sing.
Deuce. I know you did, but
what's
you
a deuce anyhow? A two-seater car? Is that the deal?
I don't know.
I have no idea what he means. It's one of the worst Springsteen songs ever written, and Manfred Mann made it even worse. That's another story.
You know, I almost went someplace with the word deuce. So what's a deuce? Wrapped up? Yeah, I just had a deuce in there when I was expelling Russians. All right, I'm sure we're going to be banned from the air next week, ladies and gentlemen, so please enjoy this show as much as you possibly can.
So there's tons of garbage everywhere, okay? Paul McCartney was on up in New York. Now, I have seen Paul McCartney in New York after John Lennon was shot. He came into the radio station that I used to work. First of all, he wouldn't come into the radio station, WNEW-FM, for a number of years because he stayed out of New York. But now, obviously, he loves New York. But I'm sorry. These people, and I love Paul McCartney, but everybody who spoke had armed bodyguards that was anybody. Okay?
I worked with Paul McCartney, and I'm here to tell you he's got armed bodyguards.
Yes, exactly.
And they are like bad dudes.
Okay. Rapper Vic Mensa, who performed in D.C. calling for a ban on AR-15s, pled guilty last year to a gun crime. His real name is Victor Kwazi Mensah, Mensah. But he had a concealed weapon in his car when he was stopped. And he went on to tweet, this is also for the unarmed black men and women killed by police by weapons. I mean, this according to TMZ. I mean, this is just so stupid.
But they're not talking about the black-on-black crimes, of course.
What they need to do is look up useful idiots. Saul Alinsky would be proud.
Yeah.
So you're with us or you're against us. Can I just call your attention, folks, to Grand Mills High School? This is Grand Mills, Maryland. Armed guard took out a shooter just after the Parkland, Florida shooting, but it doesn't fit the narrative, so it's not reported. Unfortunately, there was one person who was wounded, a young woman, and she later died, but there was an armed guard there, and think of all the other deaths that he had saved, all the people he saved, okay? Yeah. 4 armed deputies outside Parkland never went in. Now, this idiot David Hogg, this Hitler Youth, he says,
soy
quote,
boy.
Yeah.
He's got, listen, his arms are so thin. How thin are they, Donna?
They're so thin, he looks anorexic.
He looks like, what kind of spaghetti we got upstairs here, Donna? His arms look like noodles.
Noodles. So anyhow.
Let's call him noodle arms.
But the thing is,
noodles.
But the thing is, he really does look like a Hitler Youth.
What was that, Donna? What was it, Donna?
A Russian.
Being what?
Being
expelled.
expelled.
There you go. All right, back to you, Donna.
David Hogg, said, quote, "We need to have this discussion as Americans." However, ironically, folks, he hung up on the White House, the President of the United States, when they called earlier last week, and he did not attend President Trump's White House summit. So he, like your typical Charles Schumer type commie lib Democrat, just complains about everything, but has no intention of doing anything about it. Okay? Here's what I feel we need
Donna,
to do.
what was it? What did we just
Trying
do?
to be serious here.
I know. What did we just do, Donna?
You just expelled another Russian. Raise the voting age to 21, okay? The voting age came down to 18 because we had a draft. And they said if you can learn how to use a gun and you can go die for your country, you damn well should be able to vote, and I agree. But in the last 20 or 30 years, we've got a couple more generations of misfit toys. And therefore we need the drinking age was raised back up to 21, right? And now they're saying, thanks to Rick Scott in Florida, the age to buy AR-15 should be up to 21. So therefore I say that you should be able to should not be able to vote until age 21. Yes, Don has his hand up.
Yeah, Donna, since you're talking about home security systems, I wanted to share with the listeners that we have purchased a new home security system here at Double D Ranch.
We didn't get another dog.
And no. And I wanted to share with you guys because we endorse very few products. And this new home security system is absolutely fabulous. We feel more secure now that we have purchased this new home security system right out here in Carroll County, as a matter of fact. Those of you that are listening locally on WLBB 1330 AM and 106.3 FM, please, I encourage you to look into this new home security system. It can be purchased at 2 locations in lovely Carroll County, Georgia. The first is ShotSpot. And we would like to talk to all of our friends over there at ShotSpot that offer all these fine and different caliber home security systems.
Yes.
And the other is Bowden Pawn with our friend Tony Bag of Donuts that's out there at Bowden Pawn. Donna and I have gone into these 2 fine establishments, and we have purchased our home security system in a wide range of calibers. Back to you, Donna.
Yes, we have many, many calibers. Hey, this guy, David Hogg, by the way, you know what they were saying
Soy
also?
boy.
Yes. You know what else?
Noodle arms.
Yes. Hitler Youth.
Yes.
You know what else they were saying? And folks, look it up. Hitler Youth. This is exactly what's happening. They are saying parents need to get to the back of the line in that protest. That sounds like discrimination to me. Who else had to get to the back of the line?
Yeah, but here's the deal.
Like, parents don't know what they're talking
this
about,
is straight out of 8 years of Barack Obama, where they are diseducating, uneducating, distort-educating the youth into the fact that, that you just don't need your parents. Your parents aren't what's hip,
Yeah.
Your parents aren't Instagram, man.
Yeah.
Like, man.
Idiots.
This is we've been going through 8 years of this, Donna. It's not going to stop.
I know. Hey, Venezuela, by the way, and I invite all these kids who marched to please.
What was that, Donna?
Are you up to 60 yet? So you'll please stop.
No.
Haven't you expelled enough Russians yet?
No. Back to you, Donna.
Venezuela continues into chaos. President Nicolas Maduro put the military in charge of food distribution.
Oh.
You know what? Why don't all you kids who are protesting and think
go
this
down there
country's
and
so
help
bad, go
distribute
on
food.
down there to Venezuela and see how great it is.
Take a roll of toilet paper
go
with
to
you because you'll
Haiti.
pay for your trip.
Yeah, exactly. Go to Haiti and see where you can see a country where I believe what's the annual income of the average Haitian? About $875. Okay,
That's a lot of money.
so Maduro says if you don't vote for me, you don't eat. That's pretty much it.
Ooh,
The
is that what he said?
and that's in a nutshell. Yeah,
That's very dictatorship,
he funds the military.
don't you think?
Yep, a lot of the food is coming from Miami, folks. It's coming from America.
You have to
Trump
say that.
is
Hold on,
thinking
Donnie. You have
about
to say
taking
that
sanctions. Miami.
Yeah, that's how you need to say it.
Miami. Why is that?
What was that, Donna?
That was a Russian diplomat being expelled. Hey, get a load of this.
Speaking of load,
Facebook.
What was
now.
that, Donna?
That was another Russian diplomat being expelled.
Okay,
Can we
back
get
to you.
Facebook already?
All right, get to
Cambridge Analytica. Facebook has 1 billion plus, actually close to 2 billion users. Their business model is selling your personal information. Cambridge Analytica used about 235,000 people. Hashtag double standard. I'm going to tell you why. Listen to one Carol Davidson. She is bragging in 2015 about the 2012 election when she helped Barack Obama use Facebook and all of Facebook to help him get elected.
Facebook, 2012 election, had the ability for people to opt in. The Obama campaign rocked this, right? We got people to opt in, and the privacy policies at that time on Facebook were that if they opted in, they could tell us who all their friends were. Okay, so they told us who all their friends were. This is very much how local campaigns work, right? People sit in a room, it's a really small thing, all of their biggest supporters sit around the table and they circle the names of the people that they know and that they're going to outreach to, and they figure out how to fill in the gaps of the people that they don't know. The Obama campaign just did this on a digital level, on a much larger level, but we were actually able to ingest the entire social network of the US that's on Facebook, which is most people.
Most people.
Yeah, for sure.
That'd be you, ladies and gentlemen.
The thing is, obviously, Zuckerberg, who is a flaming Democrat, decided that that's okay. So he didn't do anything about it. He got caught, though, doing it with a Republican institution, Cambridge Analytica. Oh, can't have that. Even though he allowed all of Facebook open to this social media.
Yeah, but you know what the liberals are saying?
Analytics for the Obama for America campaign.
It wasn't as big back then.
Yeah,
it wasn't as big back then.
Sure. Okay.
But which, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, this very thing right here, this issue is why we bumped Mark Zuckerberg's interview. We were going to have him on this segment. I said, no, we did not call him. Back to you, Donna.
But the thing is, I'm sure Robert Mueller will find something wrong with this as opposed to what the Obama administration did back in 2012. But this woman, Carol Davidson, says that once the information's out there, you can't take it back. Dems have it. Republicans didn't get that information. Well, wrong. Anyhow, this is what the Mercers and Cambridge Analytica did. So now it's on the Republican side, so it's a no-no.
Steve Bannon.
Zuckerberg.
Steve Bannon.
Yeah, really.
He's a bad man.
I guess Steve Bannon can't make any money anymore because anything he touches, boy, we have to go after it.
It's bad.
Zuckerberg and Facebook had no problem, though, in 2012 giving Obama the information on Romney. Now they're outraged, simply outraged. So with Cambridge Analytica, Zuckerberg says he's going to testify. That's supposedly going to happen on April 10th in front of Congress. Boy, Congress sure can move their butt when they want to, can't they?
Hey, can't you wait? Is this going to be a closed door?
I'm sure. Well, actually, maybe not. 50 million users were exposed in the Cambridge Analytica probe, so they say. I heard only 235,000. It was 50 million with Facebook. But that doesn't sound right to me.
Well, listen, here's why. Not only did they go after, say, you,
right,
but when they went after you and mined your data, they got all your friends' data, too. It's a big pyramid deal.
Android phones, by the way, according to Facebook, they will get your texts as well. They can download, if you had an Android phone, take note of this, if you're on Facebook, they actually can get your texts and your contacts. And so that's not just Cambridge Analytica, folks. You think you're okay with Instagram? Instagram is owned by Facebook.
Yeah, you
Google,
millennials.
YouTube, all of them are doing the same. In fact, Google is steering you away from conservative sites. We've had guests on the show that have said that. You Google their conservative website, and they do all kinds of stuff to kind of stop it.
Put it on page 3.
HTTP // or they'll put the first thing up will be something that CARE or an organization that hates you will be the first thing that pops up. So YouTube has deleted a lot of gun videos as well on how to, maybe make guns or how to clean your gun, that kind of stuff. YouTube's done away with a lot of videos on guns right now, too. So basically, this is self-censoring, and that's scary stuff because, this upcoming generation has no idea what the Constitution is.
Can I have a minute here, Donna? We only got about 3-4 minutes here before we go to break, and I know you got some more stuff you want to talk about. Ladies and gentlemen, I kid around a whole lot during these first couple of segments like we're doing tonight, but I'm going to reach out to you and I'm going to tell you how doggone important the midterm elections are. You need to vote, and you need to vote to try to keep the House with Republican control. You may be angry as all at who's in, who these Republicans are. I know I am. But it's almost like when you've got Hillary Clinton running against Donald Trump. If you weren't a Trump supporter, the bottom line is this: you vote so that Hillary does not get in office. That was our position. And, with these midterms coming up, you see that House flip, you're going to see some problems. We'll never get it back. We will never get it back.
And you know what? Once they go for your guns, they're going for your freedoms. And if you don't know about the Second Amendment, you ought to learn about it, folks, because like Don said, you don't have the first without the second. And the Second Amendment was actually put in there to protect free slaves from the Democrat-started KKK. Well, that's a whole nother story.
I played the sound clip on this past break.
You know what the thing is? I think a lot of people in Congress are retiring because they think this is it. And now there's speculation that Paul Ryan is going to resign in the next 30 to 60 days as Speaker. Now, whether that means he's going to leave Congress altogether, I don't know. But this is, in a way, I'm happy about this because Steve Scalise could replace him. The big thing is, who could take Ryan's place in Wisconsin? The thing is, Paul Ryan couldn't even carry Wisconsin from Mitt Romney. I'm sorry. Maybe that's because of all the Facebook ads.
Here's the bottom line, ladies and gentlemen. Midterm elections, you must vote. You've got to vote to try to keep the House red. You've got to do it. All of your friends, you got to get them out to the voting booths. We cannot lose control of that House. I'm telling you, Donna, that's a big thing.
Yeah.
That's a huge
Because all you're going to hear is Trump.
Thing.
Trump needs to be impeached.
Impeach 45.
Give me a break.
Maxine Waters and her flapping lips.
Give me, let me just tell everybody, Steve Scalise is the House Majority Whip right now. He is the guy who was injured last June.
He was shot
injured.
By a 7.62 round.
The point being is, where were all these idiot kids marching looking for gun control back then? They didn't care because it was Republicans that were being targeted, in my opinion. And you had two hero Capitol Police who themselves were wounded. They were armed. They stopped this bastard. You know what? This is the big thing, and this is huge. And this, I'm telling you, and a lot of people also don't realize there's speculation the Japanese never invaded this country because they knew there were too many guns during World War II.
That's why nobody invades this country.
You got to realize that, people. You better wake up. Well, we're going to have a new segment coming up during the show, during one of the breaks, from our Fed Up professor later on in the show. She is a teacher. And she's the fed up professor telling you all the brainwashing going on with our kids. Then we're going to talk about the Facebook situation with the guy named Eddie Turner. He's going to be making his debut here on Cowboy Logic Radio. And our old friend Myra Adams, columnist extraordinaire with all the latest headlines. She'll be coming up. Again, it's all coming up next on Cowboy Logic Radio.
What was that, Donna?
It was an expelled Russian.
Cowboys didn't dance, didn't wear designer shirts. Their hearts were filled with memories, their bodies filled with hurt. They would sit around the campfire and exchange a piercing glance. Back when the West was really wild, cowboys didn't dance, yes. When cowboys didn't dance, didn't wear designer shirts. When their hearts were filled with memories, their bodies filled with hurt. They would sit around and exchange a piercing glance. Back when the West was really wild, cowboys didn't dance.
Check us out on the web at cowboylogic.us.
Hello, everyone. I'm Donna Fiducia.
And I'm Don Neuen. And this is Cowboy Logic Radio.
Cowboys didn't dance, didn't wear designer shirts. When their hearts were filled with memories, their bodies filled with hurt. They would sit around exchange a piercing glance. Back when the West was really wild, cowboys didn't dance.
Welcome back to Cowboy Logic Radio. I'm Donna Fiducia, along with Don Neuen. And our very special guest for this half hour is new to Cowboy Logic Radio, and it's kind of a different angle than we normally take. His name is Eddie Turner, and Eddie is a motivational speaker. He is a leadership solutions expert. He is a former Forbes contributor, and he has a new book coming out called Leadership Lessons, Succinct Messages for Success, and that's coming out in May. But Eddie, you also can talk about what's going on with Facebook. So we have a lot to cover in this next half hour. And Eddie Turner, welcome to Cowboy Logic Radio.
Well, thank you, Donna. I'm so delighted to be here with you and Don.
Well, I want to talk
Hold on
first.
a second. Before we get into his book and everything, given the fact that the word leader and leadership came up in his intro, Eddie, I find the word leader and leadership, or the words leader and leadership, to be hugely lacking in today's world of business, in today's political world, in everything that we have going on. As far as I'm concerned, there are way too many bosses, unqualified individuals that are pretending to be leaders, and very few leaders that are actually displaying leadership. And I want to throw out a quick saying that I would assume you've heard before and that you probably believe in, and that is that bosses boss and leaders lead. Don't be a boss, be a leader and lead. And I want to get your thoughts on that before we get into anything else, because that's how I live my life.
Well, Don, I couldn't agree with you more. The big challenge we have in society today overall, no matter where we go, is that people are asking one simple question: where is the leadership? Where are the leaders? And in part, that question comes up because there's a confusion between a title, a leadership title, be it president, be it manager, be it pastor, whatever the leadership title may be, and the actual behavior of the individuals with that title. And very often what we might see is people without titles expressing leadership through action, through its servant leadership, or through a word that I often refer to through the work that I've been exposed to, influence. The ability for someone who lacks a title, lacks authority, to, through the power of influence, assume a leadership role. And if we had more leaders who understood the power of influence, they'd actually point to their titles a lot less.
I could not agree with you more. And I'm going to throw out something, and in full transparency to our listeners, our valued listeners, I have not set you up at all for this next statement that I'm about to make and follow-up question to what you just said. You don't know that I am in the world of entertainment. I run a rock and roll bus company, an entertainer coach bus company. I'm the guy that artists call or management calls when ABC band needs to go on a tour. And given the fact that I am in Atlanta, as anybody can probably imagine that's on top of current music, I am the guy that rap artists and hip artists go to when they need their buses. And I deal with all of the big ones. And I think anybody that is using their brain can make a decision and a determination that rap and hip-hop artists have an enormous amount of impact on society, especially young people of ages from, early high school, sometimes even middle school, all the way up into their 20s and 30s. And the artists that are attracting that particular crowd, there is no definition of race or gender. Hip-hop and rap music are attracting both white, black, Hispanic, everybody, male and female, usually in the ages of middle school all the way up to, say, about 30 years old. And I have had sit-down conversations with many of these high-profile rappers and their management about this. These guys that are going on stage and have adoring fans that will do absolutely anything they need, have the opportunity and the ability to spread positive leadership messages to that audience. And they're not doing it enough. I want to get your thoughts on that.
Well, I believe it's incumbent upon everyone who has a platform to use that platform and the influence that comes with it in a wholesome and a positive way. I think that the problem perhaps arises in what is the definition of wholesome and appropriate. So we have a set of shifting mores in society today. And so everyone, as we shift in generational dynamics, what's considered acceptable perhaps for our millennials and Generation Z and the groups that you're referring to there, I think some of that has shifted a little bit. And so we don't have the set of absolutes that perhaps we had when maybe you and I were growing up, where certain behaviors were, it was not arguable what was acceptable, what was normal, and what was appropriate. So I think until we really have a way of having moral clarity, we really want to have a way of having moral leadership that we could point to for these particular artists to espouse.
What about responsibility? It seems to me like there is no such thing anymore. Whatever you want goes. And that's good to a certain extent. But if you have no overall general responsibility, the society can break down if it hits what I feel we're hitting is a moral low ground right now.
Yeah, I agree that we do need to have a level of responsibility, but I think that for me, that responsibility has always been expressed through a belief system that I was raised by. And so very often, sometimes we will hear some of these artists say something that they believe in. And they, of course, have these messages laced throughout their music and laced throughout their performances. And so is it the responsibility to faith, family, God, and country? Is it the responsibility to the community in which we grew up? Everyone has to decide what's best for themselves, but I think that certainly we do best when we have we're guided by social responsibility for the good of everyone around us.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. And this doesn't, I picked out that particular aspect of the world of business, that being the entertainment industry and even more, defined a hip hop and a rap culture, because that's what my world revolves around, along with rock and roll and theater and anything else. But we've got a big problem with this this moral compass that we're talking about outside of just the entertainment industry. I mean, you move into corporate America, which I deal with also on the other side of the coin with regard to these artists, and there's a lot lacking there in the leadership. You want to expand on that?
In terms of corporate, you said moving outside of the artist. Do you mean corporate America as in Fortune 500 corporations?
Yes,
or are you
absolutely. The leaders and the leadership that is being handled in corporate America, and then we can move over into our communities and more of a grounded area where leadership is lacking. And you mentioned in our churches and our places of worship.
So we see examples of corporate leadership, both good and bad, unfolding before us. All one needs to do is to open the latest paper or look at the news and see examples of leaders doing exemplary work, be it our corporate leaders who took a position in some of the more recent controversial things unfolding in our country. For example, no matter what side of the aisle we line up on for example, the gun issue, and as that's taking place today, marches and things across the country, we have our senators, our folks in Congress that we are looking to perhaps express a point of view. But our corporations, our corporate leaders, did not necessarily wait this time. And some of our most significant corporations took a stand on what they thought was best. Now, the argument could be made, was it because they thought this was the best thing, or because they were being sensitive to the financial ramifications of the way things are going? But taking a lead and making decisions that are based on what is best for our communities and not necessarily the bottom line is, I think, what many people are looking for our corporate leaders to do, as well as government, religion, and otherwise.
See, the thing is, I feel this is a knee-jerk reaction. I don't want to get real political about the actual gun march or anti-gun march that's going on. But I was watching some of the coverage, and they actually said kids under 21 should be in the front of the line. Adults get in the back of the line because it's their fault we have this problem. And this starts to get to separation. We've separated our schools from religion. We've separated our families now between the young and the old. And we've also obviously separated people by race. And this is a huge problem for me because this shows that we are not being taught history. And every time this happens, the society falls into a huge breakdown. And that's not good.
This is true. There's, to your point, it's about history. Was it Henry David Thoreau who said, those who don't know the past are bound to repeat it? And so it behooves us to definitely know our history and to learn from the lessons of the past.
Could not agree with you more. Let's move a little bit toward a topic that was taking place last week pretty heavily, and in some way probably is touching every person that is listening to this radio show's life. And that is what has been going on with a company that has just come to the forefront in the media, and that's Cambridge Analytica, and the relationship between them and Facebook, along with all of the other data mining and data collecting organizations that are working, especially in social media, because, and I think you will agree with me, we are seriously in uncharted waters. We've never been here before, and I think all of a sudden we may be realizing that a lot of this situation with regarding to social media, online data, keystrokes that we all do all day long, we may have let this may be spiraling out of control. And I know that you've got expertise with regard to the technical end of this kind of stuff. Can you help put some of what's going on right now with regard to social media, personal data, the selling of that data to various organizations, where they're political here in the United States? It could be overseas. It can be South America. We've got a lot of stuff going on here that is involving individuals' privacy and personal data. And I do want to qualify that's this final statement here with the fact that all of us agreed to the conditions and terms of Facebook, but it appears they may have possibly violated that. Your thoughts and explanation on that?
Well, you're right. Technology is just engulfing us, Don, everywhere we look. In fact, you and I are probably, and Donna are probably wearing some type of device right now that's counting our steps and going to tell us shortly that we need to stand up. Everything that we do is producing data. And so this data that is being produced is being monetized. And so the situation that took place with Facebook, the social media platform that has more users than most countries have people, has been front and center in the news and has everybody thinking about our data. There's that data that we have of our own volition put into the system. And when we put our data into the system, we agree that Facebook will use it. That's, after all, how it's funded. And that little long contract that, I don't know if you took the time to read that, Don. You're probably more meticulous than I am. But I didn't read it.
Nobody reads the damn thing. All they do is click, okay, accept.
No, I have to admit that that my technique in reading the Facebook agreement is very, very similar to the same exact technique that our lawmakers used in passing the bloated spending bill.
Yeah, it was. Was
that I did not read the bill.
In other words, you have to pass the bill before you can find out what's in it.
You have to agree to Facebook's terms and conditions before you can understand how intrusive it is.
And that's exactly what's happening. Now we're fighting about how intrusive it's been in many ways. And so when this was revealed last week, Facebook had hit a 52-week high, I think, of like $198, $195 a share. and they've since lost about 18% of that. They're down to, I think yesterday closed about $159 a share. And so you wiped out $75 billion in market capitalization. And, you know, I'm not a finance guy, but I don't think that we have more than 200 companies in the world that have a market capitalization of more than that amount. So that's a significant amount of loss. Of course, at this point, it's just a paper loss, but it's still something to be watching. And if you're the CDO, you have a decision to make. And so Mark Zuckerberg's actions are being really scrutinized right now, because when you think about the slow response to this unfolding, and now there's the hashtag that got started very recently, hashtag delete Facebook. People are so concerned about their data and how it's being used, if it's truly being safeguarded, that folks are really starting to leave.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I agree. What are your thoughts on old Mark Zuckerberg's leadership skills and qualities there that we were shown last week?
Well, if I were brought in as Mark's executive coach, we would have had a nice conversation. Because what was revealed is there's a couple of things that took place. Number one, it took him 5 days to respond. Yep. So during that 5 days, either he was trying to figure out what took place because he really didn't know, or he knew what had taken place and was hoping that it would blow over. Neither response was adequate. When you have an issue that's transpired like this, good leaders get out in front and are visible. He is, perhaps more than many other CEOs, the face of the company. People join Facebook and they friend Mark Zuckerberg. I don't know about you and I, Don and Donna, but I can't really be a Facebook friend or a LinkedIn friend with the CEO of most of my corporate clients.
No, I'm not a Facebook friend with Mark.
Yeah, Mark and I aren't friends. Actually, I think Mark blocked me. I'm not sure, but he may have blocked me.
Let me reintroduce you here, Eddie.
Yeah.
We're talking with Eddie Turner, who is a leadership solutions expert. He has an upcoming book called Leadership Lessons, Succinct Messages for Success. And obviously, I don't think Mark Zuckerberg is listening to you too much right now, Eddie, and he probably should. And you can find Eddie at EddieTurnerLLC.com. Easy enough, EddieTurnerLLC.com. But you know what? Now, Eddie, my question is, because, again, this is like the wild west of information gathering, what's going on here. We have Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, all these other things. Do you feel at this point government regulations are necessary, or could that really be a negative? Because in some respects, critics are saying that's going to squelch any kind of new technology.
This is going to be a very fiercely fought discussion. Mark Zuckerberg's answer to that on the news the other day, when he was asked, should Facebook be regulated, he actually said, perhaps we should, or yes. Something almost like, I can't quote him exactly.
He's protecting his backside. But yeah, go on.
He was open to it. But was that the politically correct answer he was giving? Perhaps. But I would suggest that perhaps his fellow CEO colleagues in the technology industry might not be so open to regulation. The general thought is when regulations are introduced that perhaps it may stifle innovation. But on the other side, you have the media companies saying, wait a minute, we are regulated by the FCC, our news stations, be it cable or the traditional broadcast stations. And Facebook, more than perhaps than anybody, has really become a media corporation. It's prefaced with the word social, but it's still a media corporation, but they are able to operate freely, whereas the other competing media organizations are heavily regulated.
I actually call it socialist media, but that's anher story.
We're not going to get political.
Okay. Let me go. But seriously, we've had guests on our show. Her name escapes me now, but she has a victims website that talks about people who've fallen victim to illegal immigrants. And she said Google actually makes you put in the, HTTP / whenever you try to go to find her organization. Google is making it harder for certain organizations to really get seen. And I believe Facebook is doing the same thing, quite honestly, and Twitter. I mean, the Drudge Report has been blocked by Twitter. I can see it when I go through my timeline. And PJ Media, I mean, they're not exactly what I would call way out there. And yet, in many cases, I'm seeing that a lot of faces on the Tea Party obviously was blocked by the IRS. This is a total double standard that I'm not real thrilled about. And I don't know if government regulations really are going to solve the problem at all anyhow.
Well, that gets back to similar, Donna, to what you're saying with net neutrality. The idea of, would the internet be a neutral operating zone, or would we allow the Comcast, the AT&Ts of the world to be able to handle certain traffic and give it a priority based on who's paid them a little bit more money? So this is really all coming to a head from different perspectives, because to your point, is Google, is Twitter giving a fair representation or search results to those who are looking for these resources, or are they squelching them in some way? Well, on the other side of the aisle, the same question is being asked in terms of internet traffic. So will the government step in and regulate these things? And there's discussion as to perhaps we're going to see that take place. So
I hope not. I'll be honest with you. I hope not, because to me, every time the government sticks their nose in anything, it gets worse. What I think needs to happen is just let the free market economy take place. If people are mad enough, they'll go off Facebook and someone else will make an alternative. That's, it might take years before that happens, but anytime the government gets involved, it's just my opinion, I think it really causes huge problems.
Well, I just typically look at it from what are the issues at hand and what's unfolding. I haven't really settled in on where I'm at on that yet.
All right, so let's talk about Cambridge Analytica, okay? And the huge amount of problems. We only have about a minute left. Do you feel there's different comparisons to various years of the campaigns, or just tell us, kind of sum this all up for us, because we only have about a minute left. I didn't realize, Eddie. I'm sorry. Time just flew by with your interview. Go ahead.
No problem. I think what I'd say with Cambridge Analytica, it's a British data analytics firm that's taken the data mining industry and analysis of the data that's mined and gotten in a little bit of difficulty in that when we look at the 2008-2012 campaigns, yes, social media analytics were used, but it was used with the permission of the users. What we are seeing unfold in news reports, and we still don't have all the facts yet, is it appears that was not what took place in the Cambridge Analytica scenario, and that is one reason why even the British government is taking very strong steps against the CEO.
Yep.
So we'll have to wait for the data to unfold and find out what really took place.
Absolutely.
Ladies and gentlemen, please go visit EddieTurnerLLC.com. Eddie, E-D-D-I-E, Turner, T-U-R-N-E-R-L-L-C.com.
Eddie, we thank you so much. We'll be looking forward to your book, Leadership Lessons, Succinct Messages for Success, coming out in May. Again, he's a leadership solutions expert. Find all of his stuff at EddieTurnerLLC.com. Eddie, thanks so much for joining us here on Cowboy Logic Radio. And coming up, we'll be talking to MYRA Adams, a columnist extraordinaire, and all the latest headlines. Her take on that coming up next on Cowboy Logic Radio.
Cowboys didn't dance, didn't wear designer shirts, and their hearts were filled with memories, their bodies filled with hurt. They would sit around the campfire.
Hi, thank you for listening. My name is Ron Phillips, and I'm the owner and operations manager of Talk America Radio. It is with great pride that I offer you this 24/7 stream of some of the finest talk radio programming in the country, but I need your support. We are a listener-supported network. That means we need your help to continue to offer the quality programming you're hearing right now. If you're able, please visit talkamericaradio.us and click the Support Us button. Your donation will go a long way in helping us continue to share the American voice. Thank you.
This is Don Neuen, co-host of the Drive Time Sit Rep. Join me as I call in to my Intel analyst, Denise Simon, for my daily situation report, or Sit Rep, the Drive Time Sit Rep. Check talkamericaradio.us for more information and show times.
Hello, and welcome to this week's edition of the Chronicles of Lower Learning. I'm the Fed Up Professor, and today's topic is diversity and inclusion. All the rage in the academy. My university just hired our very first officer of diversity. Officer, not vice president, suggesting an element of compulsion. College websites say, We embrace our individual differences, collective strengths. We value every member, age, color, creed, education, ethnicity, gender expression, national origin, physical and cognitive ability, race, sex, sexual orientation, socioeconomic class, and veteran status. They alphabetize the list so there's no implied hierarchy, and that's the theory. But what about in practice? Well, many of my woke junior colleagues, mostly white women married to white men, post a ton of signs on their office doors. One will say, "The black community is welcome here. You're a part of our community, and we have your back." And the rest are the same, except for category of grievance communities, such as Latinx. See, we mustn't say Latino or Latina because that would be sexist. Jewish, the chronically ill, Indigenous, LGBTQ2A, LMNOP, Muslim, immigrant, disabled, Asian, refugees, women of color, and of course, the trans community, which they've already actually listed, proving that they don't know their own dumb acronyms. And did you notice any missing demographics? I see unconscious bias against straight white females and males, veterans, Christians, atheists for that matter. See, if you specify who you are including into your diverse community, you're inevitably excluding others. Categorizing people by anything but the content of their character is the very definition of discrimination. I'm the Fed Up Professor. X. See you next week.
You're listening to your local news source, WLBB, News Talk 1330 and FM 106.3.
Hey everybody, they're back on again!
Cowboys didn't dance, didn't wear designer shirts, when their hearts were filled with memories, their bodies filled with hurt. They would sit around the campfire and exchange a piercing glare. Back when the West was really wild, Cowboys didn't dance.
Welcome back to Cowboy Logic Radio. I'm Donna Fiducia, along with Don Neuen, and our very special guest to close the show is MYRA Adams. We love having MYRA on because she really just has such a great wealth of knowledge. She's a conservative columnist. You've heard her on radio. She's a media producer and writer. You've read her stuff on National Review, Town Hall, WorldNet Daily, The Washington Examiner, just to name a few. And you can find her on Twitter at MYRA K. Adams. That's at MYRA K. Adams. And her website is MYRAAdams.com. Easy enough. MYRA Adams, welcome back to Cowboy Logic Radio.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, you've got a bunch of stuff that you've written lately. One is on Paul Ryan. One is on, with Holy Week coming up, the Shroud of Turin. And also Trump's presidency of one. So we've got three big topics we want to get to. First of all, let's start off with Paul Ryan. Your sources are saying there's going to be an after Easter bombshell on him?
That is correct. And I think bombshell is probably an understatement because the scuttlebutt is from a source of mine who is in a position to know that my source is telling me that after Easter, Ryan is going to make an announcement. What my source believes that announcement is going to be that Speaker Ryan is not going to run for re-election in his Wisconsin district that he has represented since 1999. He won re-election. He won his first election at age 28 in 1998. He's now 48, so he has represented Wisconsin 1 for 20 years.
Gosh, and at such a young age still. Hey, you know, why not? Because then you could just go and be a lobbyist and make hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yeah, he could do that. MYRA, let me ask you this. What do you see that would mean? What kind of effect will that have on Congress, the House of Representatives, and who do you see moving into the Speaker of the House?
Well, I think it's going to have a huge effect because it's so symbolic. I mean, what it could be interpreted as, and the Democrats could use this interpretation, is that Ryan believes that he would no longer be Speaker, and that he's going to be withdrawing because he doesn't want to be in the minority. And this is just one more sign that the Democrats are going to take over the House. I mean, you could hear that. You could hear Republicans, and I know I've heard a lot of Republicans based on comments I got on after writing this piece on Town Hall. There's so many Republicans say, "Good riddance, goodbye. Don't let the door hit you on the way out." Ryan's approval rating, I believe, among Republicans is not very high. I'm sure he could probably still get reelected in his own district, but even that, I know one of the political rating reports had downgraded his district. It was Larry Sabadow's crystal ball. And recently he had changed Wisconsin's first congressional district from quote-unquote safe Republican to likely Republican, which means that even Ryan's home district was trending away from that really safe seat it has always been. So it's going to be a huge, it's not even a bombshell, it's going to be a nuclear explosion. It's going to be interpreted, it's going to be interpreted any way anyone wants to interpret it according to their own agenda.
Right, right.
It's a chameleon announcement that the interpretations are going to be just wide and deep. And as far as who's going to replace them, I have no idea. Maybe someone like Steve Scalise, I think, who maybe is a favorite. Maybe who's the one in California, the good-looking guy from California, McCarthy. McCarthy?
McCarthy, yeah.
Well, I thought you meant Tom Del Beccaro, but that's another good-looking guy from California. Myra, before we get on to any of your other pieces that we very much want to discuss, your recent pieces that you've written, I want to stay with Paul Ryan and this bombshell news that you're claiming that we're going to hear here in a couple of weeks. Let me ask you this: I feel that a massive pivotal turning point in the restoration of our nation is going to fall with these midterms, and I'm very concerned about them. I'd like to get your outtake or your outlook on these potential problems that we may have with the midterms, especially in the House.
Yes, I think every Republican who's concerned about us keeping the majority should be concerned. And I know Paul Ryan said to his colleagues the day after the upset in Pennsylvania when Conor Lamb won, even though he won by 750 points, this was a district that Trump had won by 20 points in November of 2016. So Paul Ryan said that it was a wake-up call. That Pennsylvania special election was a wake-up call, and he told all his colleagues that. So basically, that wake-up call is it's an alarm. It's a 5-hour alarm. It is. I do believe we are going to lose the House by potentially. It could be the opposite of what happened in 2010, which was the first midterm of Barack Obama's presidency after he'd been elected for the first time in 2008. The first midterm of a sitting president is historically one where lots of seats are lost. 2010 was the record. I think there were 60. I think the Republicans won, if I'm not, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it was 63 seats that the Republicans won in 2010. We could be looking at the flip side of that, and the Democrats could win 63 seats or around that, just based on the retirements. Just talk about the retirements.
But a lot of them retire because they have to, don't they, Myra? Because, well, they don't have to, but they choose to because they don't get these heads of these various what word am I looking for? The various heads of the different
committees,
congressional committees. They only get it for what?
Yeah, but that's not why they're retiring.
Yeah, a lot of them are though, because they don't want to be kind of have defaced sort of and have to go back with the group, which and the Republicans do that. The Democrats don't. But what I want to know is if Ryan feels that way, and I really don't think McConnell feels that way, I'll be honest with you. Why did both Ryan and McConnell, who helped write this omnibus thing, basically throw the people under the omnibus here? I mean, I'm flabbergasted with it.
I don't have an answer to that. They were under so much pressure. I mean, think about how much pressure they had to. They couldn't have the government shut down again. It was going to be shutting down on Friday. I mean, in some ways, look at it through a happy lens, okay? In some ways, this omnibus bill showed that there was compromise between the two parties. And our system of government compromises the way things get done. So you could say it was actually kind of a good thing. I know Republicans are screaming about, how much money was spent in this budget, but it was a great example of, a half loaf is better than a no loaf. Democrats got some of the things they wanted. The Republicans got 10% increase in military spending. I mean, there was definitely some compromise going on there. And I'm sorry, I don't think that's a bad thing. What do you guys think about that?
I'm not thrilled with it. But, yeah, I think Trump, with the art of the deal, the way he is, I think he knows what he's doing a hell of a lot better than I do, be honest with you. But let's see what happens. A lot of people who have read it have told me there is some stuff in there that could actually fund the wall that was kind of hidden. But you also got the $500 million for Planned Parenthood. And you got a lot of other things, sanctuary cities and different things of that nature that should not have been in there.
Hey,
and
here's
Ryan
the bottom
and McConnell
line.
oversaw that.
Here's the bottom line, Donna. Democrats and liberals are not going to stop wanting to fund the killing of babies without a major fight. And so that kind of stuff's going to stay in there as long as they can drag it along. Myra, let me ask you this, if you know this number off the top of your head. How many seats can the Republicans afford to lose without flipping the House?
I think it's either 24 or 27 is
All
the
right,
number I
So if something as disastrous as 2010, the mirror image of that reversed, takes place, we're screwed. Now, let me ask you this. If that ends up happening in the House, how much do you think that Donald Trump is going to be able to accomplish, given the fact that every waking moment in the House of Representatives, they're going to try their best to figure out a way to impeach him or at least stagnate things to a complete grinding halt because of trying to focus on one thing, and that's impeaching Donald Trump?
I totally agree with that. In fact, every GOP strategist, and I've written about this before, every GOP strategist I have spoken with believes that if the Democrats win the House, they will start impeachment proceedings immediately. Now, of course, and most people don't know this, in the history of the United States, there has never been a president that was convicted. We had a couple that were impeached, i.e. Clinton was the last one, obviously, but he was not convicted in the Senate. And Andrew Johnson was not convicted in the Senate. And, of course, Nixon resigned before he could have been impeached. So there has never been a president that the impeachment proceedings went on in the House, and I believe that is a majority, whether or not a majority will vote whether or not the president can be impeached. But it's the Senate that convicts.
Correct.
And it has to be 2/3 of the Senate has to convict. So whether or not they would be able to get, I think we're going to hold on to the Senate. But who the heck knows what's going to go on? I don't think there's a chance that he'll get impeached. I think there would be. I hate to say this, but I think there would be some civil unrest if Trump was going to be impeached. Because he has so many loyal. The country is so polarized. There's so many people that are so loyal to him, and there's so many people that literally want to claw his eyes out. So, where is the middle ground here? There doesn't seem to be any.
Well, there isn't any middle ground. There isn't. And the thing is, I'm not so much worried about Trump actually being impeached because, quite frankly, everyone that I have spoken to that at least is not just completely agenda-driven on the left can't come up with one solid shred of evidence or an example that could possibly impeach him. So the thing is, I'm not so much worried about him being impeached. I'm worried about the everyday business that is required out of a president that he was put in office to carry out being stagnated to the point of non-existence because of the constant distractions, which has happened, quite frankly, ever since about 3 o'clock in the morning, the day after Election Day in 2016.
Yes.
So when we have control of the House and the Senate.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's crazy.
Well, we don't know. I mean, this is what makes these days very, maybe live in interesting times, that old Chinese proverb. I think the times are almost too, quote unquote, interesting these days because I'm afraid when I wake up in the morning, I'm afraid to turn on the TV. I don't know what the heck I'm going to see. And I'm not the only one that thinks that way. I mean, I think this whole country is totally on edge right now between mass shootings and potential terrorist attacks and wars and Trump doing something, that half the country doesn't agree with or somebody getting, fired. or somebody losing an election. We don't know. There's no stability whatsoever.
Exactly. That's the
I've
word.
never seen it like this ever. It's like the whole country is always walking on eggshells every single day.
But the rule of law has to take over. I mean, what's going on with sanctuary cities is insanity. There's no difference, I think, between what's happening with California right now and what happened during the Civil War. Californians want cheap labor. It's not slave labor, but that's exactly what they want. And that's splitting the country. And as California goes, unfortunately, so goes a lot of the country. And the Democrats have no control. They got a ton of stuff in this omnibus bill that they wanted. And the Republicans always cave. I say this all the time. They shoot themselves in the foot. The Democrats circle the wagons. They don't have control of the House. They don't have control of the Senate. They don't have control of the presidency. And yet they're getting their agenda through. If Chuck Schumer is happy and Nancy Pelosi's happy, then I'm not happy.
Well, you could say that you could take that argument and apply it to the Republicans, because the Republicans got what they wanted. I mean, they got 10% increase in military spending, which is many billion. I don't know the exact number, but it's many, many billion. And apparently, what I read and heard was that Trump was fully prepared to veto the omnibus bill that was presented to him, but it was Secretary of Defense Mattis that convinced him that he needed to sign this bill now because of the military spending component. Yeah. And Trump went along and agreed with that. So the Democrats got what they want on the domestic issues. The Republicans got what they wanted on the military spending issues. Again, I think it's actually a good sign, and it's compromise. One side, the way our nation works, one side cannot get their way. It has to be a give and a take, and that is the way things happen. Otherwise, the government shuts down. And did we really want a government shutdown on Friday?
I did.
That would have.
I'm sorry, I
did. You did, but it doesn't look good when the Republicans are in charge. It doesn't look good if the government shuts down. It just shows that, hey.
The thing is, they got out of town so damn fast. You couldn't find Paul Ryan or Mitch McConnell for any kind of comment at all. They were out of Dodge. They got the hell out of Dodge.
All right, well, listen, ladies, while we're having a real warm and fuzzy moment here about how everybody feels about this, MYRA, were you able to watch the dilated pupils of Stormy Daniels on Sunday night during her interview?
Yes, and I'm sure I contributed to probably the highest-rated 60-minute show probably in recent history.
All right.
So, yes.
We're not going to spend a whole lot of time.
It's like watching a train wreck.
We're not going to spend a whole lot of time on Stormy, but did you find her to be credible at all? Yes or no?
Well, I think that this is an interesting question, aside from my own personal view on this, but let me just raise the bigger, wider question here. I think this comes down to a matter of you're asking the American people the question, who do you trust more, a porn star or the President of the United States? The fact that we even have to, in our own minds, in our own households, have to answer that question just speaks volumes about where we are as a nation. Mm-hmm. And I just think it's a sad state of affairs. And I think what I have read and heard, it's that the campaign, it's not that he had sex with her, I believe, once, according to her. That's not the problem. The problem is that $130,000 was paid to her a week before the November 2016 election by Trump's personal attorney, and to correspond about the deal, he used Trump Organization email and Trump Organization office to have a FedEx, I think they talked about that on the show, a FedEx delivered. Right. And so that could be considered a campaign donation. And then they tried to hush her up with that. So I think it's almost like the same thing happened when Clinton was impeached for he was impeached for, not fully impeached, but he was in the House impeached for lying. I mean, that whole Paula Jones, it was all about lying. And this could be all about a campaign donation that was made as hush money. And I think that could be one of the biggest, I think that is the biggest problem. and the lawyers are going to be going nuts about that. So yes, I think that she can be trusted in as much as you can trust someone who has done nefarious things for a living. But I trust her in the sense that why would she put herself through this if she wasn't trying to, save her good name? Is that, is that possible?
Yeah, most of the adult porn stars that I know have good names, like Cinnamon and Stormy. Anyhow, let's move on to something of more relevance. But
come on, this is the most fun thing.
All right, well, let's stay with Stormy then.
Ever.
Let's stay with Stormy. I have a big question. I got a big question about Stormy. What's up with the dilated pupils?
Oh my goodness! Only a druggist knows for sure.
Well, I happened to look that up. I happened to look it up, Myra, and there are medicines that do cause dilated pupils. Some of them have to do with heart problems. Some of them have to do with different things that can just be medically, you can have a medical issue and you got to take a certain drug. Other like antihistamines and decongestants and things like that. So she may have had a sinus problem tonight.
I'm sure she's got sinus issues.
Or it could have been cocaine. It could have been meth. It could have been, it could have been a number of things. Now, we're not suggesting that Stormy Daniels, the porn star, is a drug addict. We're not suggesting that in any way. She might have taken
something to calm herself down. For the interview.
But I'm going to tell you something. She had some big, bright lights in front of her big, massive boobs.
I was saying, among other things, she had some big other things.
And so did Anderson Cooper. Now, Anderson Cooper's pupils were the size of a gnat's butt. They were microscopic because of those lights. On the other hand, Stormy Daniels' pupils were the size of Montana.
Can we get to the other issues of what Myra wrote about here?
Okay,
please?
but one more question I had, and this is the most titillating question of all.
Titillating.
Titillate. Did Melania Trump watch the 60 Minutes interview?
I'm sure she's not a happy camper right about now.
Hey, here's the bottom line. I think Melania Trump has enough class that she probably found something much better to do than watch that 60 Minutes. That's my personal thought on it.
Given Donald's past, I'm sure she could care less at this point. She's the First Lady of the United States. But from what I gather, was she pregnant with Barron when this happened? I think that
it's my understanding that she gave birth. This happened shortly after she gave birth.
Yeah, that's pretty Bush League, too, if it did happen. But she did Stormy signed 3 different times saying nothing happened. So, come on, this is just so stupid. It's not like Bill Clinton. It's not rape. I'm sorry. It's consenting adults. I really don't care at this point.
There is the bigger picture that Myra's talking about, and that's the $133,000.
And I'm sure Robert Mueller will be right on that.
But here's what I hope happens,
care less
Donna.
what Hillary Clinton does.
Here's what I hope
Uranium
happens.
One.
If this ends up being some type of a violation of the Federal Elections Commission, then I hope that when Donald Trump pardons Cohen, that he also pardons Dinesh D'Souza.
Yes, there you go. Mm-hmm. Who made a $10,000
All right, we've only got about 4 minutes, Myra.
Right,
Let's get into something of substance here and get away from Stormy.
It's Holy Week, and you had a great article on the Shroud of Turin, but I don't want to get to that yet because I want to talk about this other thing that you did write about, if you can briefly talk about it, Trump's presidency of one, and how is he getting more remote, or is he just trying to close up his inner circle because he can't trust a lot of people?
Well, according to thank you for bringing that up, because I think that is very interesting. The piece I did on Town Hall, was it this week? Yeah, I guess it was this week. Weeks kind of run together. It was called Trump's Presidency of One. And in fact, a GOP strategist texted me and said, I love that. It's such a catchy line. And I thought, okay, great, because to me, presidency of one so totally describes what Trump is doing. And what the key point of my piece is that I had done an interview with Roger Stone back in February of 2016. And why that was important, because at that time, of course, that was the beginning of Trump's campaign that year, and that ended up in him winning in November. But this was February. And Roger had some real insights into the way Trump was running what at that time looked like a very chaotic campaign. And what Roger said at the time, and this I remembered this, and that's why I went back to him and I asked him, because it was like what Trump was doing as a candidate was exactly the way he is acting as president. And what Roger had said was that Trump is acting as his own strategist, his own speechwriter, his own logistician, his own press secretary. He said he runs the campaign by telling you what he thinks. No one puts words in Donald Trump's mouth. No one. He said Trump only takes the campaign a few days at a time. When I asked Roger about what was Trump's long-term campaign strategy, he said he only takes the campaign a few days at a time. So all these things together. And then Roger also said one other thing that was so interesting. He said that Trump runs his campaign in an entertaining kind of way, and he's like a man on a high wire without a net.
Wow.
Okay, so Roger said all these things in February 2016. So I sent him an email this week, and I said, Roger, remember when you told me all that in February 2016 about the way Trump was comporting himself in the campaign? And I said, it reminds me so much of the way he's running his presidency. I said, my theory is it's a presidency of one, but it looks exactly like what you described in February 2016. And Roger emailed me back, and he basically agreed with me totally. He said that Trump has an extraordinary level of confidence in himself. He is instinctual and operates on the basis of his gut. The Korean negotiations are a perfect example of him rejecting the conventional wisdom dished up by his timid advisors and asserting his own brand of personal deal-making. If the president succeeds in denuclearizing North Korea, Trump's leadership style will be hailed as the new model. So
I got to say, Myra, we're sort of out of time here, but I got to say his gut is pretty darn good. And I agree with Roger Stone in some respects. I think he, like you say, he could be a hero or he could be zero. And so far he's been pretty much doing okay, but we'll see what happens with this North Korea thing. And Myra Adams, you have something on the Shroud of Turin. Unfortunately, now we're totally out of time. Signfromgod.org is the Shroud's website. And everybody, I invite you to go to Myra Adams' website. That's MyraAdams.com and at Myra K. Adams on Twitter to read about her latest on that, given Holy Week and the Shroud of Turin. It's very interesting. 3D encoded information on that. But Myra, thank you so much for joining us. Unfortunately, we are out of time. Read her stuff, folks, in National Review, Town Hall, WorldNet Daily, Washington Examiner, a whole bunch of other stuff. Again, it's Myra K. Adams at Myra K. Adams and MyraAdams.com. Myra, thank you so much for joining us here on Cowboy Logic Radio.
Thank you for having me.
And I normally end with a quote, but we've run out of time. So I just want to say, folks, find us next week at the usual bat time, same bat channel, cowboylogic.us, talkamericaradio.us. And in the meantime, God bless America.
Cowboys didn't dance, didn't wear designer shirts. Their hearts were filled with memories, their bodies filled with hurt. They would sit around the campfire and exchange a piercing glance. Back when the West was really wild, cowboys didn't dance, yes. When cowboys didn't dance, didn't wear designer shirts. When their hearts were filled with memories, their bodies filled with hurt. They would sit around the campfire and exchange a piercing glance. Back when the West was really wild, cowboys didn't dance.
Check us out on the web at cowboylogic.us.